when you start preparing for CAT. The first question being that then we understand nature doesn't align with us. Sometimes we'll have some other commitments to work with. Let's say 3 months time. 3 months is a decent time to like practice and then get comfortable with it. In that case, or someone who is starting their preparation fresh from April, what should you be doing? How should you be taking it from here? We're going to think about SICI, mixtures, profit and loss, speed, time, distance, and time and work. You're dumping a 2-minute question, and in return you're doing an 8-minute question. Very bad bargain, right? So all this while in June, July and August you would have been doing 1 mock a week. Hello folks, there is always this one question in our head that we keep asking ourselves when you start preparing for CAT. The first question being that when should I start my preparation? Is it the right time to start my preparation? We keep asking this question and slowly it transcends into that idea, okay, is it too late to start my preparation? Two questions that go hand in hand, and these are the questions that I keep getting from students every now and then through my teaching career. So what we'll do is we'll try to relate your CAT preparation to a deck of playing cards. So you start with a set of cards and that's where you started, and every time you do it you tell yourself, okay, year beginning I'm going to give a serious thought about this preparation. Jan 1st, I'm going to give all my commitment and I'm going to start preparing for this test. But then we understand nature doesn't align with us. Sometimes we'll have some other commitments to work with. Sometimes we simply don't have the time. Sometimes we don't get this boost, this motivation, and then we get stuck at some point. And even before you know, you've already lost 3 months. So Jan, Feb, March is done. Now your 3 cards are done. Now you're left with these 8 cards. You're left with 8 months of preparation left with you. Now the first question that you can ask yourself is 8 months too less to do my preparation? Now, should I answer this question straight away or give you an analogy? I would go with an analogy. Now this is an example that's happening in my life at present. So my wife is someone who hasn't driven a car in last 10 years. I told her, okay, I gave her a deadline and I said, before this time, you should be driving a car. So that's a challenge that I have with her. Now imagine this, someone who hasn't driven a car in 10 years. They will take some considerable amount of time to get used to it, right? Let's say 3 months time. 3 months is a decent time to like practice and then get comfortable with it. Now imagine, instead of 10 years, if there is someone who hasn't driven a car in 2 years, would they take the same 3 months? Not really, right? They might probably take a month, maybe some 40 to 45 days, half of that time, maybe. Imagine this, someone who hasn't driven a car in 6 to 8 months. Obviously they don't have to take a month or so. They'll probably take a week or so and then they will get over it. How about someone who hasn't driven a car in a month? They would get into a car and then they'll start driving it. So it all depends on how comfortable you are with something that you have done in past. Now let's all understand that your CAT prep, the syllabus that you are looking at, is not some applied science here, advanced mathematics, some tough comprehension language, nothing. This is something that we all have done at some part in our life. So it should be relatively easy for us to get back in track, but that depends on when you start. It all depends on how long you have taken a break from it and how quickly can you get back to it. So there is a relation here. For some people, if I go back to the same example, you haven't driven a car in 10 years, they might not take 3 months. They might probably take a week or so. Their muscle memory is too good, they can get back on track in a week or so. So it all depends. But starting different phases like Jan, let's say April, July, they all have their advantages and disadvantages. Rather than disadvantages, I would rather say the commitment that you put to this test is slightly more. So we have to create a schedule, create a planner according to when you begin and how comfortable you are. So for some people who start in April, I'm going to go with the worst case scenario, someone who doesn't have any comfort with mathematics, someone who doesn't like quant. So we are talking about quant here. I'm going to talk about someone who comes from a non-mathematical background, someone who doesn't like math, someone who wasn't good at math in their school, UG, wherever they have gone. For those people, that's the worst case scenario, right? You feel like you are the odd man out in the group now. If you happen to be there, you will be slightly more worried about quant than the other two sections. In that case, or someone who is starting their preparation fresh from April, what should you be doing? How should you be taking it from here? I will give you a detailed month-on-month planner here. What should you do in April? What should you do in May, in June, in July, in August? We'll have a detailed discussion of it, and I'll also give you a planner for a month-on-month schedule on a day-to-day basis. We did that for March. We'll do it for April. Someone who's starting in April, I'll give you a link. We'll talk about it. We'll show you how it's done, and then we'll take it from there. Right. So when I talk about April, that's the first month. Now we all know that your CAT quant happens to have 22 questions, and we are talking about 5 modules: arithmetic, algebra, number theory, modern math, and geometry. They happen to be the flagship, the mothership of your entire quant. Now in that case, 22 questions is what we are focusing on, the entire section. But are we targeting all the 22 questions? No. To begin with, you are looking at somewhere around 6 to 8 questions. And if time permits, if your comfort permits, we slightly amp it up to plus 2 more questions, somewhere around 8 to 10. We start here and then we take it better. So what do you do in April? So we have been saying this over and again. No matter how many videos we make, no matter how many times you hear it from us, it is going to be utterly essential that you get your arithmetic part done. Your arithmetics is going to be super important. The arithmetic module is super important, and to do that, we have to get to 3 basic concepts here. We are talking about percentages, ratios, and linear quadratic equations. Why these 3? Why am I calling this the fundamentals now? Now, 22 questions, and I can bet all my life on this and say you are looking at least 19 to 20 questions with some part of percentages, ratios, or linear quadratic equations sitting in it in one way or the other. Maybe a rare case scenario could be where you are talking about inequalities and functions where we aren't using any of this, maybe, but then you are looking at quadratic equations there. But then you are looking at geometry, a pure geometric question which might not have percentages or ratios, but the chances are very less. You are looking at invariably almost every question that has percentages, ratios, and some form of equation solving in it. So getting this in the bag is super important. You cannot skip this. The moment you say I'm not going to do percentages, I think we are dropping our eggs here and saying that it's not going to break. You know, when you drop it, it's going to break. You are still believing it won't break. So it's a bad step. So you focus on arithmetics here. Even before stepping into arithmetics, you do percentages, you do ratio proportions, and then you do basic solving of equations. Get comfort with it. And one recommendation that I always keep is do at least 1 mock in April. Now sometimes people say, how can I give a mock? How can I write a test without any preparation, with 0 preparation? Now there is almost a certain chance that your scores might go negative without any prep. But this mock that you are writing is not for you to score. It's not to evaluate your performance here. It's to understand what sort of questions come in. It's to get an idea of how the question format will be, how the setting would be. So to get an idea, it is very important that you do this. And these are scores that you really don't take for your evaluation. You will probably come back to the same mock for practicing the questions, but the scores are immaterial here. So do not worry about what score you get here. Get your funda right, feel good about it, and then move on. Now April's done. Now what about May? So in May, we started with percentages and ratios. We did some basics. Of course, now is the time where we get into the proper arithmetic component here. We're going to think about SICI, mixtures, profit and loss, speed, time, distance, and time and work. Now, the moment you get this in back, we are certainly looking at somewhere around 7 questions here. I don't want to bet, but then yes, somewhere around, for sure, you're looking at 7 questions. 1/3 of the paper is sorted. 21 marks. Great. You are certainly looking somewhere around 92-93 percentile now in quant. Great. Now, you go to 45 marks in the paper, you are looking at the 85th percentile. You have already secured half of it here. which is good. Now that's why we keep saying focus on arithmetic, focus on it. Now covering all these topics shouldn't take you more than a month, maybe a week, some 4 to 5 days for each topic. Now when you do SICI, automatically profit and loss, they both deal with more of percentages. We did that in the previous month, so do that. When you come back here, you will be able to relate it, right? When you do mixtures, you have already done ratios now, so whatever you did in ratios, that helps you in building an understanding of mixtures now. That's important. When you talk about speed, time, distance and time and work, they are standalone topics. There is no necessity in the order of in which you prepare for it. You can do time, speed, distance first and then come to time and work, or time and work and then time, speed, distance. Two nice standalone topics, but super important. You might be getting questions very frequently from these topics, so it is utter important that you get this in the bag. You feel good about that. Hey, I've gotten this in the bag, I'm good about this, now I can move on. The other advantage of covering arithmetic is all these topics are something that you have already done in your school now. So when you go back, revisit them, it also gives you that confidence of, okay, I've gotten some grasp of this section now. You don't have to get into hardcore math like number theory or combinatorics or geometry. You can stick to the basics and then you can feel good about yourself. And then you get more questions in the bag, which also makes that comfort a little better now. So get this in bag. So May and April happen to be your two most important months now. That serves as the base for your entire prep from moving on here. So May is done. What about the next one? June. Now, sometimes this is where a lot of people might have different opinions depending on where their comfort lies. I come from a school of thought where your preparation not only serves for one section but for other sections as well. Sometimes I tell people to learn something for not for the weightage of the topic but for the comfort of the topic. This is where I slightly go a little unorthodox, and then I tell people master arithmetic and touch base with numbers. Sometimes people tell don't do number theory, keep number theory for last because it's a vast topic, which it is undoubtedly, but then the weightage is also not that great. But why do I recommend number theory so early in June? I believe that number theory as a standalone topic doesn't carry a lot of weightage. I sync with all other people, but the comfort that number theory gives you with the section, not just quant. Think about this. The moment you get your hands on number theory, your algebra is sorted to a certain extent. Your ability to look at numbers, splitting the middle term, be it finding the roots, wherever you're looking at numbers, product or whatever it is, it gives you that one sense of comfort there. Right, that's one reason. The other reason being that is your number theory understanding also elevates you to do better when it comes to DILR. Now, when you get a numerical puzzle or when you get a set that's based purely on numbers like a tournaments or a visualization puzzle, in all those places, number theory serves you a comfort now, which is undeniable. Most of the comfort for people who have DLR as a strong suit, they all believe that they have some comfort with numbers. And no one can say, I'm super good at number theory. No one can say, we all are students of some learning. So they all believe that they have some nice understanding about numbers, which help them elevate their DLR preparation. So that's why I put number theory a little ahead of other topics, because to me, it has a great boost now. Now you have to understand, the moment you hit June, again, one place where we have mixed thoughts about mocks, I recommend people to take one mock a week. So this is something that's super important. You would probably be doing 4 mocks now. April you did 1, May you did 1 or 2, in June you start doing 4. 1 mock a week, you are doing 4 mocks. Once again, the first set of 5-6 mocks is not for you to evaluate your score. It's for you to revisit a topic to see whether the understanding has been good. Should I plug in some other idea? The phased gap that you have, every time you revise a concept, when you go back, you have to understand, okay, I've done it well. So that's where your mock prepare, your full length mocks give you some understanding. Now a lot of people would say go for sectionals. Sectionals in my head, it doesn't help you to do better. It helps you to refine your thought process. Now taking one quant section straight away than taking quant as a section as a full length mock in the last phase, your thought process differ. After 80 minutes going to quant or going straight fresh to quant, they have two different outcomes. So taking a sectional makes you refine the topic. The scores doesn't signify that you would get that in a full length mock. So that's why I always recommend take a full length mock, spend time with it. You take a mock, you do an analysis. So they go hand in hand. They are inevitable, they are inseparable. You do a mock, you take some time, you take a rest, and then you take some 3-4 hours minimum, bare minimum, to analyze everything that you have done. So doing 4 mocks in June helps you. By the time when you do all these topics, you are getting some sense of comfort now. Once you are done with June, when you hit July, now July is going to be slightly critical. July, August are all going to be slightly critical because we are touched base with all the arithmetic topics. We have done arithmetic and number theory to a certain extent now. Now here it is where it's going to be slightly tricky for a bunch of people, because this is where the solid core quant topics come. To begin with, algebra. Now when I say algebra, most of us hate it, which I understand. The hatred towards algebra is understood. All those unknowingly memorized formulated expressions, sticking to the steps and not to the understanding, all these years the trauma comes back. But get your hands on quadratic equations first, and then do a little bit of exponents and logs. Do a little bit of APGP. These are something that you have already done in your school. Revisit them. Now, when you talk about logarithms, you are not looking at the characteristic part, Madison part and all. You are looking at some set of 8-7 properties, sticking with them, understanding what log and exponent have a relationship with, connecting them and then solving it. Once you get all of these, this is where the core algebra comes in, inequalities and functions. When I talk about inequalities and functions, this is where it's slightly tricky. This is where it is slightly tiring now. More than tricky, it's tiring. We have to get to the root of it, to the base of that understanding from scratch. For some of us, this is very new. Now, I tell people sometimes at this point, it might be a little unfair to say, but just in case, if something feels like that you're overdoing it, it's overwhelming, maybe you can dump it, save it for later, and then revisit it at the end if needed. In this case, I'm talking about learning from scratch. So let's not dump anything. I want to incorporate every topic. If there is someone who wants to visit all the topics, what would be the strategy? This would be it. Now, feel free to cut chase, swap here some topics to here and there, change the module to a certain limit. Feel free to do it. We all have our custom made preparation, our comfort. Your comfort and my comfort might not be the same, which we all understand. So feel free to do it. But if I have to give you a foolproof blueprint, a standard blueprint, this would be it. The moment you get this covered, you already had some 7 questions from arithmetic. Put this in the bag, you are getting somewhere around 12 to 13 questions. Put together, all of this put together would give you somewhere around 5 to 6 questions, which has been the track record as of now. So you're looking at somewhere around 12 to 13 questions. Nice place to be in now, right? Now look at 12 to 13, that's somewhere around 30 plus 35, 39 marks. Beautiful spot to be in. You're already looking at the 98th, 99th percentile now. So get going. By the time you reach here, by the time you reach July, you will start feeling one sense of comfort now. If you have stuck with this all this while, if you can put in your heart and say April, May, June, July, 4 months, you are already feeling good about it. No matter how many topics that you do from here, no matter how much preparation you do from here, you already built consistency now, which is great. More than your discipline, more than your motivation, your discipline and consistency matters. The momentum matters. That's what I say. Focus on the revision part. Maintain that momentum. Super important. A lot of times we don't understand how important momentum is. It gets stopped at a certain point, and then getting back on track will be slightly tricky. So ensure that even on your worst days where you don't have time to prepare, spend some 15-20 minutes solving a couple of questions. Spend some 40-45 minutes watching a video, some solving, some PYQ, some lesson, some concept, one way or the other, engage your solving muscle. Very crucial. So you do it, we are through here. So once you are done with July now, you are looking at August. Now, pretty much you are left with only 2 other modules. I'm going to focus on the more important module now. And I say more important on the basis of weightage now. You are looking at geometry. Now, geometry is vast. We are not just talking about some simple basic practical geometry here. You are talking about circles, you are talking about triangles, you are talking about polygons, you are talking about coordinate geometry, you are talking about mensuration, some part of trigonometry is sitting here. You are also talking about polygons. It's big, it's big. But is it worth? The answer I would say yes. For consistently for the last few years, you have been getting 3 to 4 questions here. It seems to be reasonable, right? Trigonometry is tricky, I understand that. But then all these others, even if I pull out coordinate geometry from here, triangles, circles, polygons, mensuration, you're ideally looking at some 2 to 3 questions now, which is good to be there. Sometimes when your algebra or a couple of arithmetic questions don't go your way, you can fall back on this and say, okay, I missed it there, I screwed it up there. Let me compensate it with a couple of questions here. It's important that we touch base with all the topics. Even if you're going to skip a topic, I strongly recommend get your basics right. When you do that, you don't have the risk of telling yourself, I haven't studied any other topics, I have to focus on this and then solve this. Maybe a time speed question that you are solving would take 8 minutes. A simple question from geometry would have taken you 2 minutes. You are dumping a 2-minute question and in return you are doing an 8-minute question. Very bad bargain, right? So touch bases with every single topic, super important. Get at least, I'll say, do triangles and then come to circles and then do polygons and mensuration. Mensuration is pure formulated topic. You know that you have to understand the surface area, volume, total surface area, curved surface area, perimeter. Quite some topics here, right? Get these in the bag. You can even think about these two later. Beautiful topics, coordinate geometry and trigonometry, but save it for the last if in case you feel like this is a little too much for you to digest. It's fine. Now once you are done with geometry, you are looking at September now. Now there is only one topic, one module left out, which is combinatorics. The combinatorics, one issue that we have here is this question, this topic has permutations to it. Combinations and then probability. Combinatorics is a mix of combinations, permutations and probability. Nice. I like this topic. On a personal note, this is something that I would love to solve any given day. But the problem here is these three are too big and the logical component here is quite a lot, which is tough to comprehend every now and then. And the worst part is it doesn't carry a great weightage. Maybe 1 to 2 questions, even 2 is doubtful. Maybe 1. On your best day, you might get 1 question. And for 1 question consuming that big a topic, maybe not. But if you again want to go and then touch something, because 2023, I remember this, there was an utter simple question which is the basic of permutations. They said how many numbers less than 1000 are there without any digits being repeated. Simple question. These are questions that we would have done in class. To conceptual learning, we would have done that question. Such a simple question was there sitting there. Maybe on your best day, maybe 1 question could save you, but is it really worth spending your time? It's something that you need to take a call depending on where you stand. Sometimes people say you can even skip permutation. They would straight away say this. I don't have the heart to say skip a topic. I usually don't tell people to skip anything, but I have to be a little honest here. Spending all the time in the world to do combinatorics for 1 question, is it really worth? Maybe not. So, but then cover some part of the basics and jump to mocks and sectionals. You are already doing mocks. Now in September is where you start increasing the frequency of mocks. So all this while in June, July and August you would have been doing 1 mock a week. That's 4 mocks a month. From here you should probably be doing maybe some 6 to 8 mocks in September. I think if you revisit the number, 1 in April, 2 in May, 4 in June, July, August, that's 15. You are getting some 8 mocks here, 6 to 8 mocks, 21 to 23 mocks. Beautiful. By this time you have gotten used to this idea of writing a CAT. So you know when you prepare, when you sit down to take a mock, you will shut down from everything else and you would be able to say, I'm going to put 2 hours of undivided attention to it. Our attention span is bad. But then by the time you come to serious taking mocks, it's good. Now if you start taking mocks, your first mock in September, some people do it, works for them. My concern is, by the time you reach September, you will have to get used to the idea of taking mocks. The frequency has to be great, it has to be big. You have to be giving 3 mocks a week from the word go. And sometimes when the moment you do it, fatigue hits in, your analysis goes down. You'll not be able to give all your effort when it comes to analysis. But by the time if you have been giving mocks regularly, and when you hit 1 to 2 mocks in September now you are already prepared. Your brain is designed. Now you have built that endurance to say, I know I'm giving a mock. Your September, October mocks, the last 3 months mock scores are crucial. This is where your peak performance jumps in. All this while, it's feedback, practice, go back, take a mock and then come back. So it has been a loop. It is still a loop now, but your peak performance starts here. So imagine this, your first 2 reps, you go to a gym, the first rep is to relax, you are stretching. The second rep, when you do the second set, you are slightly putting in effort, but the third set is where you put all your effort. Even if you do 8 reps in the third set, we feel like, okay, I've put in more weights and I'm doing it better, right? So your mind is controlling everything now. So we say mind over body, you would have reached by the time you come here. That's why I recommend, some of us recommend giving mocks from the word go. The moment you hit June, you should start giving mocks. Don't keep it, don't save it for the last. Sometimes we will say, I'll do it at the last, and then we don't give it at all. So we don't get time, we'll be busy focusing on your prep, revision or whatever it is. You wouldn't be getting time to do mocks, because for mock, you have to sit there for 2 hours. Learning, you can take a break and then come back. Mock, 2 hours in one place. So you might not get the time in the fag end, so might as well start doing it from the beginning. So once you do this part, now your October and November is where the 2 months, I call it the end game. Why? The last 2 months, there's nothing new to learn. Anyone who starts in April, by the time you reach October, November, you don't have any topics to sit and learn, unless or until you have procrastinated all your learning in the beginning. But then the moment you hit here, it's nice, you have completed all of it. The only thing that you might probably have to do is take mocks, take sectionals, consolidate, revisit, feedback, again go back, learn something if there is anything pending, and then go back, take a mock. You do the cycle extensively, you are there, you are ready. It's weird to understand that by the time you do all of this, your mind has subconsciously trained your mind to say, okay, I'm there. One way or the other, we are doing this, right? Now, sectionals, I usually add sectionals in the last 2 months, because by the time you come to September, October, November, pretty much covered all the topics. Now you can go refine, you can learn something new. I don't rate sectionals as a place to learn some, to evaluate you, rather it's more to refine. When you take a mock, you evaluate yourself, 2 hours at a stretch. This is something that you can tell yourself, okay, I've done something now, I'll take a sectional and see how my understanding has been. Is there anything that I need to pick it up? So that's where I talk about sectionals. Mocks, very specifically PYQs, the previous year questions. Now, if you are preparing for 2026 now, 2025, 24, 23, 22, 4 years, 3 papers each, 12. You will save it here. Starting from September or October, the latest, you will have to do these 12 papers. I'll say 15, but I'm cutting it down. I'm cutting some slack and telling you get 12. If you can get your hands on these 12 papers as mocks, it's great. Now there is no better mock than a previous year paper. Get it from anyone who provides you a mock. Best quality mock happens to be PYQs. It's nothing like that. So you are testing with the best that you have. So save all of them. Now if you want to do some previous year paper even before this, go a little older. 2020, 21, 22, use them to learn something. 19, 18 and all, go back, revisit for your practice. If you want some mock questions for practice, take those questions. Save 24, 23, 22. 25, sorry, 25, 24, 23, 22, 4 years papers as actual mocks. Do not look into the solutions, don't solve them, don't look for the method, whatever it is, save them. So, now you will be like, what happens if I look at one question? One question can change the destiny of your score, 3 marks. Now you will go to the test and you will be like, I've already seen this question. You put a tick, you have gotten 3 marks, but at the cost of what? Your testing capability of that question is gone. So don't look at those solutions before you come to September, October. Save them. And analysis and consolidation, the more you analyze, the more mocks you give, this is where your time management hits. All this while, the time that you take to solve a question is immaterial. I would never worry about how much time I took to solve one question. That's the least of my concern when I'm learning something. The only place where you will worry about how long did I take to solve this question happens in mocks. So the more you do, you will also automatically focus on time management. Sometimes people excessively obsess about time management. I tell people it is an organic process. Don't worry. You keep doing this cycle over and again, that falls in place. So don't obsess about I took 12 minutes to solve this question. Don't. You took 12 minutes because you had to learn it. Now when you revisit that idea, you will remember I did this. Okay, this is a question pattern that I've already seen. What idea did I follow there? Okay, let me follow the same idea and revisit this question. Am I able to solve this question? So these are the questions that you should have in your head. You shouldn't be thinking about, did I waste time by taking 12 minutes to solve a question? It's not a point of bothering in your learning curve. This will happen organically. And people talk about speed. And I tell people they go hand in hand. Speed and time management happens organically. You don't have to do Vedic mathematics. You don't have to attend abacus classes. You don't have to be a calculator. You don't have to become Shakuntala Devi to write CAT. We are not preparing for a bank exam where speed matters. Here accuracy matters. Complexity of the question comes into picture. You should have the right funda to crack it. So you cannot tell yourself I want to solve this question in 3 minutes and I'm taking a hit at it. Accuracy over speed any given day. Remember that. Your accuracy is the epitome. That's the most important thing when it comes to FPL. So stick to this. These two will naturally happen. Now all of this planner that I have talked to you about, these are beautifully provided in a Google sheet like what we did for March. There is an April sheet. The link will be given in the description below. Click that, and how do you fill it up? So you click the link over there. There's a Google form sitting over there. Fill up the form, submit it. Once you submit, you will get a link. So open that link after submission, and then you will get a file. Open that file. Remember, that's a view only file. So you'll have to create a copy of it like what we did. If you don't know how to do that, I'll attach a video over here from the previous month where a detailed step on step of how to create a chart for yourself is provided. Have a look at it. So once you create it, make a copy, write your name on it, start following that sheet. Start entering data, whatever that needs to be filled in, and have a tracker for yourself. Hope this video will help you out in your preparation. All the best.